together without any disturbances. And the interoperability between LMS and LCMS is established using web services, which is what we see now. Now, how do we use the web services in a learning environment? The service architecture that I'm going to show you, it describes the web services used for communication. Now, this is only one kind of model. You can also have your own kind of model to bring about such a communication. But this shows the basic standard communication architecture that is required, that is mandatory in order for global collaboration. The information is exchanged between learning objects, IMS content packaging or COM content packaging, and all have standard XML bindings. That is what allows a standardized exchange of information. The web services architecture is platform and language independent, as we all know. And it also provides a uniform programming model for intranet as well as internet services. It doesn't really differentiate whether it is intranet or internet. It doesn't care. It treats both of them equally and distributes information as and when required. So this is a standardized web services architecture. You can build upon these to bring in more specific kind of services. Rudimentarily, what it has is one LCMS where certain protocols are established which need certain kind of communication services, an LMS which needs its own kind of communication services. Then there are clients and service providers. Let's look at the LCMS service architecture. It has content service requester and provider. It could be the same web service, or you could have separate web services for both. LCMS also houses the learning service requester. Now, when an LMS requires some kind of learning content, it sends a request to the LCMS saying, look, I need this particular object or this particular document from this particular course because this particular student has the requirement. Then LCMS looks at its own course, sees if it is upgraded or not, and then once everything is verified, it sends it to the LMS. LMS in itself distributes it to various students as per their requirement. It could actually send to remote LMS. For example, MIT requires some document from the library in Alexandria or the New York City library. So it sends a request. The LMS in MIT sends a request to the New York City library saying, I need a certain document. So New York City library, which archives a lot of the documents, searches for this document, looks for its verification, makes sure it's the correct document, and sends it to the LMS. Now this particular MIT LMS might want to send it forward to the Virginia State University. So it will send it to the LMS at Virginia State University and say, okay, you can also take this because I got it from New York City library, and it shares it with other LMS. So this is how collaboration is done across the globe. Now what I had taken as an example was within one country. This is quite possible across countries also, across continents also. Similarly, let us say a user is trying to put in, a researcher has put in more material on a particular topic. This content which the researcher has presented as a paper needs to be digitalized. So where does he send? He will go to a remote authoring tool. He will log on to, let's say, New York City Library authoring portal and says, okay, I have brought up a new research paper and I want it to be archived in the world's biggest library so that everybody can access it. So he is given a remote authoring tool access where he uploads his document. That document is standardized, content-wise, package-wise, as well as made sure that it complies all the teaching material standards, and then it is put into the library archive in the New York City Library. Now, as soon as this is done, the edition of this document is published to various universities or interested parties. Once they see that such a new document has come into the market or come into the library, they might want to access it. And then they will send a interaction or a service requester, and this service is provided to these institutions. So this is how a scientist, maybe sitting in Israel, can publish his paper to a library in New York, which is again distributed in a university in Boston, and then sent to another university, let's say in China. This is global collaboration. Now this can be across multiple libraries also. Different components exchange messages through interaction of web service agents in each system. System provider is the platform that hosts these access to the service. This is also known as a service execution environment, and its role in a client-server message exchange pattern is that of a server. So some of them act as servers, some of them act as clients. The same client can become a server for some other access point. So this is how our global connect or global collaboration takes place through a web service architecture, where a service is requested through a service requester, and a service is provided through a provider. A service requester initiates the communication for a service request. A discovery agent is a discoverable set of service descriptions where service providers publish their service descriptions. What a discovery agency is, for example, in a library, in the example I just described to you, if a new research paper is added or a new teaching material is added, the library actually makes sure that it is upon the list of new material available. This is constantly scanned by other universities or interested institutions. Once they see that, oh, something new has come up, they actually request for this new material. It's just like publishing in a paper that, okay, a new movie is being released this Friday, and you advertise in the paper. Once we all see the advertisement, we all try to go and book tickets for this new movie. So that this explains how the collaborative effort takes place digitally. The service discovery agency or the knowledge discovery agency can also be centralized or distributed based on the business strategy requirement. For example, within a company, you don't really require a lot of service discovery agencies or a huge library. But then something like a New York City library or the Alexandria library, they actually work as distributors of learning material. So they might have multiple or distributed service discovery agencies. So this describes the web service architecture. The learning information is presented by XML, which is wrapped in SOAP specification, and it is now exchanged between the requester and the provider. This is how the communication takes place. Since this is a standardized process across all learning objects, and this is a globally followed procedure, the language spoken is universal, so it has no borders. So every system which implements web service architecture can communicate with every other system anywhere in the world which implements the same web service architecture. The provider now publishes a WSDL file that can contain the description of the message, and this allows the requester to generate the SOAP message and send it to the correct destination. This is like any other service architecture that we are using between application, collaboration between applications. So this is actually no different from other collaborative environment that we are creating. Only thing we are doing is we are standardizing the teaching material, and then we are standardizing the communication platform or the service architecture.